Call to order the regular Common Council meeting, Monday, July 6th, 7:08 p.m. Roll call.
Hayes.
Here.
McIntyre.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Thomas.
Here.
Mark Walner.
Yes.
Chris Walner.
Yes.
Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That sounds a lot different with an audience out here. Next item is confirmation of appropriate meeting notice.
Meeting was noticed on Thursday, July 2nd. Attendance posted at Funeral Home Service and Post Office Library and City Hall.
And then council acceptance of the agenda.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item is personal appearances, and we're going to go right down to letter A here with the recognition of Theodore and Doris Brown, inductees into the Rock County Hall of Honor. And our Rock County Board of Supervisors chair would like to take the podium.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here this evening. I see that many of Ted's friends and Doris's friends are with us also. I had the great pleasure of joining the county board in 1998 when Ted was the chairman of the finance committee. And as a freshman, he put me on the committee, and I asked him, why on earth would you do this? I'm went behind the years. And he told me, he said, well, you have a degree in finance, and you are an internal auditor for a Fortune 500 company. So we thought maybe you could bring a little expertise to our finance committee. But then he said, I want to remind you that the private industry and the public sector are two different animals. And if you don't use the taxpayers' money wisely, they will remember the next time around. And he always stressed the fact that there are needs and wants, but the community had obligations to the people that live there. So it was my great pleasure to be on that committee with Ted. I'm still on the finance committee, fortunately. At this time, I would like to introduce Dennis Condon, who is the chairman, or actually the president of the URock County Foundation Board of Directors, and tell you a little bit about the history of the Hall of Honor. Dennis?
Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the 2015 Hall of Honor ceremony. The Hall of Honor ceremony represents a collaboration among a number of groups and individuals all coming together with the goal of recognizing people who have made an impact on Rock County. This event and its connection to Rock County and the University of Wisconsin Rock County campus has a long history. UW Rock County is the home of the Rock County Hall of Honor. The county actually owns the land and the buildings, the campus, while the University of Wisconsin owns the things in the buildings and pays the salaries of the people who work there. The first UW Rock County buildings were constructed on the county in 1965 and named in 1972 for important Rock County figures such as Hyatt Smith, the first mayor of Janesville, Roy Chapman Andrews, a Beloit naturalist and explorer born in 1884, who is said to be the basis for the movie character Indiana Jones, and Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, who began his medical career in Janesville in 1877 and went on to perform the world's first successful heart surgery. In conjunction with the naming of the buildings and the facilities on campus, it was decided to establish the Rock County Hall of Honor. This was done in 1982 to recognize area students and residents who had given exemplary service to the community. A permanent committee was formed by a resolution of the Rock County Board of Supervisors and annually selected from those nominated for induction into the Rock County Hall of Honor. The selection committee is made up of the chair of the Rock County Board of Supervisors, the chair of Education, Veterans and Aging Services Committee, the chair of the General Services Committee and designees, the president of the Arrowhead Library System Board, the chair of the UW Rock County Foundation Board, and the dean of UW Rock County. As you can see by the list of past inductees in your program, the Rock County has been blessed with a number of prominent individuals who have given much of themselves to make this area a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. If you have a program, and I think most of you do, you'll see that there are some very distinguished people from Rock County. There are millionaires, there are billionaires who have been inducted into the Hall of Honor. And there are the very humble people whom you sit next to and have a cup of coffee and say, gosh, he's got to have a very rewarding life. The two people who put together the nomination papers for Ted and Doris are Sandy Kraft and one of our former board members, whose name is going to run away from me right in a second.
Jackie Wood.
Jackie. And we thank you very much for that. When Ted retired, he was very concerned about who would replace him. And he looked at your community, and he wanted to find someone that would share the same values that he had. And he came up with the name of Sandra Kraft, who is with us this evening. And she proved to be everything that Ted could have hoped for. I've had the pleasure of working with Sandra for the last 8 years. I as chair, she as vice chair. She has been very instrumental in the smooth running operation of our county board. And I would like to invite her to the podium at this time. Invite you, Kraft.
Well, I really don't know how to proceed it. But I have a couple things I'd like to say. And going to borrow an article from the Edgerton Reporter. Most of you know Ted and Doris and his history, but there are some here who did not. And so I'm going to read a portion of it for you. So tonight we come here to celebrate Ted and Doris Brown and their love for this community and their love for each other. We all have great Ted and Doris stories. Al and I were going on and on just before this meeting started about some. And I can remember so many of my own. He was so special. I remember in the Methodist Church how he and his friend Bob Worth were always the ushers, and at Christmas they would always put on their Santa Claus hats. I would remember how he used to tell stories and how he used to tell me, one of them was how proud he was that he resold his favorite pair of leather shoes 3 times and the amount of money that he saved. And then he would go down to a gas station downtown and meet with a group of retired men for coffee and donuts every morning. And at the end of their discussion of saving the world, they would flip for sodas, and how he was always particularly happy when Harlan Kittleson lost. Ted worked very hard as a supervisor. I was very honored to take his chair in the board. Ted and Doris were always respectful and always respected. They were an example of what a small city is all about, and they wanted to take that care to continue after they passed away with monetary gifts. They were so generous in doing so. So the article from the Reporter, I'll read a portion of it for you. Ted was a member of the Edgerton High School class of 1938 and went on to graduate with a degree in business administration from Milton College. During his lifetime, Ted dedicated himself to serving the Edgerton community. He served 14 years on the Rock County Board of Supervisors. When Ted worked as a Rock County supervisor, he always had the best fiscal interests of Edgerton and Rock County in mind. That was a quote from his nephew, Al Pope, and his niece, Donna Trollier, who are with us tonight. Ted also served as head usher for the Methodist Church. He served on the Edgerton Economic Development Corporation and the Milton College Board of Trustees. He also served as co-treasurer of the Edgerton Hospital Board during its construction in 1959. He was a member of the American Legion for 62 years and served as post commander. He was also a charter member of the Edgerton Jaycees and was a secretary treasurer for the Tebow Hunting Club for over 40 years. That gives a brief history of Ted, but all of us who had the joy and honor of knowing him, that doesn't quite sum up everything he meant to all of us. So at this time, I'd like to ask Al and Donna if they would come forward. This is a plaque of resolution that the county board passed honoring Ted and Doris. I got one for both of you, so I can take each one. Would you like to make a comment?
I didn't know I was going to do this, and all I could think of was that the human brain is such a wonderful thing. It starts working the minute you're born, and it stops working the minute you're in front of the microphone. I want to tell you that I live in Iowa City, Iowa, and it's a wonderful place to live. But I'm always very, very proud to tell anyone who will listen that I am from Edgerton, Wisconsin. This wonderful little corner of the world where we all live gives a person a rudder for their voyage through life. And that's what Edgerton did for me, and I'm sure that's what it did for you, and I know that's what it did for my aunt and uncle. They would be so humbled by this honor. I know Uncle Ted would stew initially, but then he would be so smiling and grateful about it. I think they would be especially happy with the way the council in Edgerton has been stewards of their bequest so wisely and so thoughtfully. I know that would mean a lot to them. So if you can imagine how Edgerton was a rudder for my brother and I, you can't imagine how Uncle Ted and Aunt Joyce were rudders for us. They taught us so much. They had high standards for us when we were growing up, and they tried to teach us right from wrong, and to do the right thing. And when we think of them and when we remember them, we're very, very grateful that they were in our lives, that we knew them. So thank you for this honor. It means everything to us, and we're going to go back and share it with our children and their children, and I think it will be a wonderful legacy to our aunt and uncle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to say?
Couple things. I'd like to thank the Browns for their generous donation to the city of Edgerton. The council approved placing most of the funds in the community fund so that it would be available for many years down the road for projects that we hope they would approve of. We did keep some of the money out available for, I'm going to call them Christmas decorations, but most people call them holiday decorations nowadays, but for holiday decorations for the downtown, and hopefully we can get some of those done yet this year. I didn't have as much opportunity to visit with Ted and Doris's, probably the people on the board here, but Doris did win the drawing with the fire department 2 years in a row. So, and at the time I was personally delivering the prizes if they were in the city or nearby, and so I got to go up and visit with her with that, and they supported the fire department for the years too. So I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank you for doing the presentation down here. It's an honor for us to be able to host it here. So, and thank everyone for coming down tonight with us. The refreshments, you want me to remind you? Or?
Yes. Mayor Lennon is to remind you to invite everyone. We have refreshments in the next room, so please join us when you can. Now I'll turn it back over to Chair Pazelli.
Thank you all for attending this evening. And thank you for those kind comments. Your uncle's name will be on a permanent plaque at the W. Rock County campus. We hope you'll have an opportunity to go out there
Anybody want to run and get a refreshment while they're open there? Or? Good. I know.
I think Glenn was taking. Get out there, man. You could buy him a cookie. Price is right.
You know, I enjoy it.
Exactly. Maybe we'll get a photo shoot over here.
Nice job on the auction.
We'll go through this first, and then we'll
Very
come
nice
out.
work. That's impressive.
We'll come out when we're done, I think, right?
We'll take a break when we go into closed session.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
We are going into close. Oh, I guess I didn't even. What's policy say?
Policy says it's 5 days.
Yes. That's right.
We're advertising, but how long is the list? Is that in the policy? Because that's what
There's
the
nothing
question.
in their list.
Oh,
Church.
okay. Well, typically there's a policy about that. If it isn't written, then it's kind of, the applications are good.
Well, it should be.
It's kind of the practice.
But they started,
But
then they
I don't know. I didn't. Had I known, I would have been missing the policy.
I didn't see that. And then, okay.
Okay.
Okay, we'll continue on. Is there anyone in the audience for personal appearances that's not on the agenda? Okay, we'll move on to the minutes from June 15th.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Committee reports, finance.
Motion to approve bills and payroll list in the amount of $237,995.42.
Second.
Any questions on the bills? Hearing none, roll call.
Mark Wilman,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Thomas. Yes. Chris Wilman,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Licenses. Motion to amend a premise description for El Patron's combination Class B liquor license.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
It looks very nice down there.
Got that up pretty quick.
Yeah, that was up the next morning.
It all planned out.
Roll call.
Mark Wilman,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Chris Wilman,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve a permit for private property on public sidewalk at 207 West Fulton Street.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
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 Chris Wilman,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve a facade grant for 14 West Fulton Street in the amount not to exceed $5,000.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mark Wilman,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Chris Wilman,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve a facade grant for 217 South Main Street in an amount not to exceed $3,330.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mark Wilman,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Chris Wilman,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve a facade grant for 104 West Fulton Street in an amount not to exceed $2,173.60.
I'll second that, and that is
Contingent upon-
as long as it's contingent approval of Historic Committee.
I forgot that. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
RDA has not approved this application.
Right.
They didn't approve it because it hasn't come forward. Yep.
You want a contingent upon the RDA looking at it too?
Isn't that the process?
Nope.
It is typically the process. It is your prerogative to decide as a council if you wish to approve it.
I mean, it can go forth without the RDA, you said, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
So if they are not to approve it, then it don't matter whether we approve it or not, right? Or if we approve it, then we supersede them and...
Correct.
Okay.
Why would we do it that way if it's not the way we generally do it?
Timing of the project. They needed to get the project going.
Okay.
So they asked if it could be on an agenda. I spoke with the mayor who's on the RDA, and he was inclined to put it on this evening's agenda.
Okay, now you don't generally, they generally pass the RDA anyhow, correct?
I believe everything we've looked at this year
Yes,
has, so.
it has.
Okay.
We're both on the RDA, and I didn't see anything that would be real different from any of the other grants.
And it is contingent upon historic,
And
just
it's
basically because it still has to be approved through the historic in order to move forward.
And we would have done that with RDA too, to make sure that it's approved by historic, so.
Any further? Roll call.
Mark Wilman,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Chris Ballin,
Yes.
Dave,
No.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
Motion to approve public event packet for Edgerton Tobacco Heritage Days and waive the fees,
DPW fees.
DPW fees and rental fees. Require the deposits for park and pulling track and sign permits, and to extend the liquor license to allow serving alcohol until midnight, Friday and Saturday nights, and to charge only police overtime for Friday and Saturday nights.
I'll second.
For 2 officers.
Actually, it's that the city will pay for half, and the tobacco days will pay for the half of the overtime, correct?
Right.
motion was for to charge half of the overtime for Friday and Saturday nights to the festival.
Festival.
Yeah.
Yes.
I second it.
Any further discussion?
I hope it's a good, successful year again.
Roll call.
Mark Wilman,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Chris Ballin,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve a temporary Class B license for Edgerton Tobacco Heritage Days on July 17th through the 18th.
19th.
Or 19th, excuse me.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm here for it.
Hearing none, roll call.
Mark Wilman,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Chris Ballin,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve a public event packet for Run for Zach, Run Walk, and waive the fees.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mark Wilman,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Chris Ballin,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Motion passes.
7, consider bids for racetrack park road construction. You want to give us some background on that?
I think many of you were in the room when we talked about the details of the staff report that starts on page 8. The project is over budget, and the options are either to bring it back in budget by removing parts of the project, or a combination of removing and using other funds, or doing the entire project and then finding a significant amount of additional funds. So I think I guess I'll leave it at that. There's the funding sources available are described in the packet, and we're talked about at finance as being using the borrowed money that we anticipate borrowing for other projects, which would in effect delay road construction projects. Most of the general fund is surplus that will be transferred as surplus from the prior year's budget. Development fees, there's about $18,000 in development fees available. And the fourth option would be surplus funds. So I'm happy to answer any questions. We did go through it in detail at finance, at least what's in the staff report. So at this point now it's questions and debate.
I have one thing I'm thinking here, and it says, I'm looking at options, and it says if we were to reduce the project to be within the budgeted amount, it says, and I apologize here, I need to get some glasses. This would require removing all 4 deduct items from the project. If the city elected to take this option, the low bid would then be Frank Brothers. So I'm guessing that Frank Brothers were low on some things, but they're maybe higher on the paving.
I have the bid tabs here. There was, whenever you just start taking things out, that's how you get to the bottom line.
Right.
So it must be the last item in particular would be the one that flipped them from second.
So what I'm wondering is if we were to use a combination of 2 different people here, would there be an
We can't.
You can't do that? Okay.
No, it's one, you have to select the contract.
Okay, fair enough. That answers that question then.
These are all general contractors. You can't hire 2 general contractors.
How many stalls is in the east parking lot, Chris?
30 or 32.
Yeah, somewhere around low 30s.
I would really hate to see that taken out because that's going to kind of regulate where people can travel coming into the park that way. It'll keep people from driving up to the pavilion beyond the parking lot there, except for the service vehicles that we want to leave it open to.
And just to clarify again, then, if we take these deducts away to get to any set number, they have to be took out in order.
That's why I started with the bottom one, leaving that one in.
Right. So if you take away these parking lot, you're taking everything out above it automatically.
Right.
So that
Was the reason because of that? The grant?
Nope, it's just the way the bid was organized, that in order to avoid any penalty for removing such a significant portion, they were bid in the deduct order.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
Yep.
Yep.
Contractors know
Yes.
that you're not going to, pick
Yes.
this one.
Yeah.
I just asked how many stalls are there. Yeah. So you can actually get up there from that shaded one from the original road there up to the shelter house and stuff?
The intention is that people using the park in general aren't going to drive to the shelter house. The conversation at parks and as a staff level is that if someone is renting the shelter, that, we're guessing that people will wish to have a key so they could drive their Nescos and things to the shelter. But the idea is that in general, the parking lot is there to serve that east side of the park, and that's where people park.
Mm-hmm.
But the road that's kind of, you come in on IKI Drive, it's kind of hash crossed. Is that staying there then?
No.
Tom, how
It'd also be good for the playground there too. You wouldn't have people pulling up close to that. Round it.
you guys, how you guys gonna get up there, Tom? Or aren't you guys? There'll be a road still? Okay.
I guess, Chris, I don't know if you would agree with this, but I was at the last meeting, and Mark had mentioned that he would rather figure out a way to do the complete project. Would it be in our best interest to first decide if we want to figure out how we can do the whole project, or
I just want to see the whole thing done.
And that's what I'd like to find out what the general consensus is, and I think it would make it easier for us.
Hopefully, I don't have a vote.
No. Well, if you do, you do.
Hopefully, I don't. Hopefully, there's much consensus.
But I mean,
there.
do we want to come to that consensus first if we want to try and complete the whole project?
Right. I think the smart thing is to start hitting numbers and see where it lands us as far as to where we can take out other areas to try to see where we can get comfortably without kind of putting us in a bind down the road on other projects.
I think it could be, maybe answer your question is, it could be two separate motions regarding how much of the project and then how to finance it, but I don't know that they're separable because,
right.
People may have, I would support it under this condition, so I think probably the conversation has to happen, and most likely the motion probably has to be you know, take these deducts, don't take these deducts, here's how we
Right,
finance
right.
it.
Yep.
I think they kind of are, for many people, will be tied together.
Tom, what's your thoughts on the situation, on whether we do all of it now or not?
Well, at the park board meeting, we had discussed some of this, and the consensus of that group was the first thing that would go would be the path. Because people are going to try to, you know, it's all going to be new out there. So people are going to figure out where they want to walk, and then we can build the path later. And we could do that in-house.
Okay.
There wasn't a substantial savings, though, in our conversation, that should be clear, that I thought initially there would be a substantial savings by doing it in-house, but the materials and equipment rental probably aren't going to be too much different than the bid price.
Correct.
So we would have to find the money to do that at some point in the future, just for clarification.
That's good to know.
I mean, people walk all over out there, so is a path really needed? So.
Okay, so knowing that, if we don't deduct the pedestrian path, we can't deduct anything else.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. So it's, okay.
So if that got deducted, then something else could, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yep.
And I did in the beginning, just, I guess, to myself, question the need for the pedestrian path, kind of like you're saying, Tom. I mean, it's a park, people go out there to do whatever and wander around, so I don't know why we need a designated path going through a lawn area.
Yeah, I mean, right now they're walking the road.
They're walking the road. Yep.
And wherever they want to. If there's cars in the way, you know, they go wherever.
And so even if it would cost, if we did the work ourselves or you did the work yourselves, at a later date, that could be done easy enough. That's different than like bringing in big equipment to do a parking lot, right?
Right. There wouldn't be damage like there might be if you reconstructed a parking lot.
Sure. So how do you think the best way to handle this is? Somebody gets just
Yeah, I know what you're thinking, Ken. I would like to find out how the general feeling is. Do we want to figure out how to do the whole thing? And then we go from there. Then we don't worry about what we're going to cut out. We worry about where we're going to come up with different funding for it.
I can see trying to figure out the money, how to do the whole thing, but I guess the one thing I'm really on the fence about is the pedestrian path. So I think we should, that being number one, I guess maybe just figure out where everybody's at with that and then go from there as far as the money.
But if you want to do a complete project, $20,000 is not a huge amount, or you may as well just, if you're not going to get rid of the rest, you may as well do that and have a complete thing and be done with it.
But the question is it needed? Is it an absolute necessity, where as the rest of the project is, if we're in there doing it, laying down blacktop, you know, got the heavy equipment in, that's, you know, I think that's
what exactly are we planning to do with the pedestrian paths?
That doesn't tie into anything else in the park that we're doing. That's something just totally all by itself.
Yeah, but is it going to be paved, or is it just?
I wouldn't think so. No.
Just gravel, okay.
Limestone screenings.
So people walk the park now, very common.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so I guess the argument in favor of pedestrian paths is once the street is improved and curbed, it will be a different kind of walking in the street than it is walking in the street now, where the road is, you know, the edges all bleed, you can move around more regularly. So when you're thinking of the road out there, think of a curbed road. I mean, yes, people could walk in the road, that certainly is, or in the grass, it's a solution, but I think a lot of people go to the park to walk the loop.
Yes, they do.
Right.
And like I said, if we don't plan on cutting any of the rest of the stuff, I wouldn't even bother worrying about cutting out to the other 20. Try and come up with a way to do the whole thing and be done with it and then move forward from there.
But that 20 could take care of the west parking lot.
Paving of it.
The paving of it. I guess the thing about this that scares me is that I know how tight we are during the budgeting process. I know I'm not crazy about putting off other capital projects that we talked about last year. I think those are just as, well, they're probably more important. I'm not crazy about us borrowing more money for this. I would love to have it all done in one shot, but when we look at the whole scheme of things, being over by $123,000, that's a lot of money to come up with right now with everything else that we're looking at. And I certainly am not interested in raising the taxes to pay for this.
I agree with that 100%, but I guess one of the biggest things I hear from the community is racetrack park.
I agree, but...
And that's
I hear that more than the streets.
I totally agree, but we're not saying we're not going to do something. Right. It's just what is an absolute necessity versus a nice to have, and I think that's what we have to look at.
Well, this is all a nice to have because we're not obligated to do anything to this park. But here now, a year or so ago, we were discussing spending $500,000, possibly also with grant money, to put a trail in, you know, connecting Swift Street and the Central Park, and a couple bridges included in that. And so I think you compare that amount of money for what we were wanting to do there compared to this.
Racetrack Park gets so much use. It gets exposed to everybody that comes to town has something to go to at Racetrack Park. Soccer, ball games, disc golf, tobacco days.
I absolutely agree, and I think it needs to be done.
It should be done completely.
I am not going against. I think with what you have here, there is a lot of work that is going to be done. Mm-hmm. And from my perspective, that is a necessity. That's not a nice to have. Because there is so much activity out at the park, I think it is a necessity that we have upgrades and the park is improved. But when I look at things like the pedestrian path and paving the west parking lot, that type of stuff, to me, those feel like a little bit more of nice to haves than necessities.
I would say the one thing I'm really hung up on again is the pedestrian paths, number one, but all I know is it took us a long time to get here, to get to the point where we're actually sitting here discussing what we want to do with that park. So I think we really need to think about what we're doing before we start axing stuff, because it's here in front of us right now. So.
And that's a good point, because there's been a lot of work put into this. I mean, I haven't done any of it, so I'm not going to take any credit for it, but the Parks Committee has worked on this, and I agree, Candy, I agree with you more than anybody probably that I'd much rather see streets and stuff repaired, but if this is what the community is asking for, and I'm sure they're going to understand that it could possibly increase taxes, but I think overall, if we're going to do it, we do the whole thing. I would hate to start butchering it and doing, because when you start doing that with a project like this, you'll never have it finished the way you want it, you know.
Or by the time you finish it, then you're starting over again, repairing what you started with.
Yeah, you start second guessing what you already did. That's absolutely correct. So,
I like the idea of taking that fence down off IKI Drive. And it was never for that 30 years ago when they put it in. Yeah. So that's a good one that you brought up, Chris. Not costing us much.
Yeah, that one.
So, what are some of the biggest complaints we've heard from the community is how bad the roads are out there at the park, correct?
Yeah, the like 21 Years Road. Have you drove on that road?
I'm just
asking you something.
Yeah, I was out there this last weekend. Absolutely, I'm not disagreeing, and I want to make sure that people understand that. I think the roads are absolutely terrible too. It was a rhetorical question.
All right, I'm just wondering if you have drove.
Oh, I'm out there all the time, Kevin.
We're out there all the time.
Pardon me?
We're out there a lot.
So, what I'm saying is it's the roads, right? So everybody says the roads are in really terrible shape. And we're saying that's what's going to be done, right? That's one of the things. Absolutely is going to be done.
But why would you want to do part of it and not do it all? Number one, the cost is going to go up. If you say, okay, we're going to do half of it and then do half of it next year, it's going to cost you more money.
So I'm just playing devil's advocate. So the complaints we've heard is the roads out there are just absolutely horrible. We need to fix them. Are we hearing we need a pedestrian path? Are we hearing we need a west parking lot paved? Are we hearing we need an east parking lot? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's my preference. I'm just playing devil's advocate. And so I don't want people to think that if anything was cut out from this, that would detract away from what we are going to do at the park, because we're absolutely going to be doing what everybody is saying needs to be done. Mainly is the roads, and we're going to be doing more parking. Well, I don't know. I'm not so sure this is going to take care of the parking, the two lots. But once the roads are done, the parking on the lawns will be a little bit more off to the right, it sounds like. These two lots are not going to take care of the parking issue. 30 to 35 vehicles in one lot, that's not helping too much. But again, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, because as much as what we're going to hear, we want it all, we're also going to hear, I can't believe you're raising my taxes for this.
Double taxes, and I'd be happy for mine to go up to pay for this.
Good. I mean, that's you. Others won't be, but...
Tom, is either one of the parking lots going to have curb and gutter around them?
Yes, the east one will. The west one, I don't believe there's any around that.
So it'll be just blacktop?
Yeah. With gravel edges. So the blacktop will stop like 2 feet before the gravel does. So this piece is poured under it.
I mean, as much as I'd like to see all this get done, I'd look at it at numbers over budget. I'd like to see 1, 2, and 3 taken off. We can come up with $50,000, $55,000. That I think is doable.
Or do we look at the options of where we get the money from before we start making them other decisions? You know what I'm saying? So why don't we go through that, and then we'll all have a better understanding of what it's going to cost us in the end.
I don't want to see us borrow. I don't want to see us delay other capital projects.
And I understand that.
And again, I'll repeat it. I mentioned this at the last meeting 2 years ago. The park board set aside 20 grand to relocate the road to accommodate a regulation-sized soccer field. That money is still in, what is that, Ramona?
That would translate into what we call a portion of the 2014-2015 general fund surplus funds.
Okay, the surplus. So that money is still there, but it apparently was not designated for this project. But it is there, and I would like to see that money gets put back towards this project. So there's another 20,000 there, and also, from my understanding, we can also take more out of that fund if we chose to. I would like to see a minimum of that 20 grand go towards this project.
I have a question with respect to that if that 20 grand did come out and was applied to this, does that take that number on the bottom of page 22 down to $78,244 for 2014 per surplus?
It reduces at 78 to 58.
Okay.
And then it also reduces the shortfall 132,423 to 112,423.
So that's the number we'd have to come up with, Mark, the 112?
The 112 if we get that 20 put back into this.
So why wouldn't we then go look and see where we could possibly get that money from and how it's going to affect us as far as budget time?
Staff is recommending the development fees as the first money in.
Sure. So that's an additional 18.5, correct?
Right. And we are reluctant as a staff to use all of the development fees, or the surplus fees. Obviously, that's your call. But we just think budgeting is going to be pretty tough if you have no available funds for those, generator projects or the lawnmower projects or things like that are really hard to fit into the budget now.
You said developer fees or the surplus?
Surplus.
But the developer fees you're not concerned with?
Nope.
Yeah, that we would say as a staff, that would be the first money in.
All in?
All 18, yeah, this 18.
Before we looked elsewhere, we would want to
That's our recommendation, yes.
To use that?
Correct.
So the total surplus, it's not 102,355. If we went with that 20,000, it would be 82,355, correct? And that is the piece that staff has what do I want to say? It's a little shy about
spending all of it.
Spending all of it. Okay.
And I don't think...
So if we had the 18,500 from the development fees and the 20,000 from the park, from the soccer field.
Yeah, the 20,000, that'd bring us to, I got 94,423 budget shortfall for this project is what I come up with.
I'm sorry, what did you come up with?
94,423 and 70 cents.
So with that being said, can we go through these other funding sources and see where we might be able to figure it out?
The one, as long as we're talking about the surplus.
4,000.
The 102 total.
84,000.
I took, correct, minus the 20?
Yes.
Bring it to 112, 423.
Correct, 70, and then minus the 18.
18.5.
No, you've got to take the 132, 423 minus the 38.5. And that 38.5 is 18.5 plus the 20,000.
Where's the 5 coming from? I just got 18 written down for the...
18.5 for the development fees.
Oh, I just scribbled down 18, it was mentioned. I didn't see the actual number. So yes, taking away an additional 500.
So 93,923, Cindy?
Correct.
That's what I come up with too.
I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Okay, I just heard the 18 getting thrown around.
Good correction. That was a good correction.
So what was that number?
I said 93,923.
70.
Okay. I'll pay the 70 cents out of my own pocket.
All right, I'll hold you to it.
Yeah. So
Being the 20 out leaves 58,000 in the, or is that a different number?
102 total is what we have between the 2 years.
Okay.
And staff is suggesting at the most that we would take out of that 102 total. Now, the 20,000 is still in the 102 total, so I'm backing up, hopefully simplifying. If you were to say that, then you would have $51,000 available. Ignore the $20,000 because it's in that number already. So you would have the 18.5. If you took 50% of the 102, you'd have another 51.
So,
I'm rounding.
So take the 51 and the 18.5 minus the 132, 423.70. And that's also, that 20 is going to be included.
Just take another 31 off the number you already have.
Right.
And where do we at?
So, and obviously the 50% is a recommendation. We're thinking that leaves us with, resources at budget time that will help us get through the budget and do those projects that are important but smaller that we're not going to borrow for.
That puts us at 61,923.70.
But you have what?
Cindy, you agree with that?
61?
So you're taking an additional
31. That would get us to the 50 out of the impact fees, which we already minus the 20 for the road project.
So then we have a shortfall of 62,923.70.
Yes.
How come I'm getting different? Maybe I'm off today.
What's I got? 62,923.
So we started with the 132. So the total shortfall is 132,423.70. $50,000 for surplus. That was in the budget last year for the park.
Okay, that gets us,
Reduced it again, so then it came to 112.
And that was for what, the 18.5?
Then we took the 18.5 for the
Development fees.
Development fees.
which brought it to a balance of 93,923.70.
that's what I got.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now we just talked about taking 31,000 of surplus.
Which would get us 72,923.70, which is what I had.
Take you to 62.
Oh, you're right, yep.
2,923.
62,923.70.
Okay, it was me.
And the 31,000 is from surplus from 2014 and 13?
Correct. It's half of the, that
It's
plus the 20
half
is
of
half
the-
of the total.
It's half the total, including the 20,000 already not designated for the roads that were put in due to the roads.
So by taking half of that, Ramona, and maybe I'm just not seeing it, what does that do to us? How does it make it just a little tight or real tight or not tight at all for budgeting?
If you have you'll have $51,000
Less.
available in surplus. Last year you spent 45. It all depends on what comes forward from the department heads as to how tight the budget is.
Say that again. What did we have last year?
We budgeted to spend 45,000 of those surplus funds in 2015 on generators and lawnmowers and painters and ditch mowers.
Okay.
So you can spend all of it
Master
in
plan.
budget time until all these guys ain't getting nothing.
Yeah, right. We'll let you do that.
That's an option. I'm just saying.
Tom's usually okay with it.
Yeah, I'm sure he would be. I'm sure, yeah.
I'd say leave as much money in that surplus as we can, but.
Well, that's my initial thought too. I'm getting a little nervous thinking about pulling even half of that money out of surplus.
So what are our next options beyond the surplus? What?
Projects.
I am not interested in going back on any projects.
And we don't know, I mean, our numbers that we have for the two street projects that are being designed now, Highland and Park, we're a long way from solid numbers on those. So
they could be more.
Or they could be less, we don't know.
Or they could be less.
That's correct. That's, these numbers, we do our best to come up with numbers, but without design, obviously, you really don't know what you have. So you may have to delay one. It doesn't really make sense probably to delay one, and Tom and I talked about this. We would probably leave the money there and push it back and do them both at the same time anyways because they're connected to each other. So it's another one of those circumstances that it doesn't make sense to separate them.
And I think this is where we should get Randy and Tom's input on your thoughts of pushing them back, say even a year or two. I mean, is it a possibility? Are we sitting good enough where we could do that?
Yeah.
If the utility had to, because the Highland is really bad, they could go in and do their work and patch the road back. That isn't the cheapest solution.
Yeah, I realize.
But if the utility has to do that, then the utility has to do that. They have trouble on Highland, that's why it's on the list.
Right now, we may get by a couple of years without having issues with the having to dig it up, or are you sure you're going to have to? I mean, and I agree with Andy 100%. I hate to cut these projects, but at the end of the day, this is something that's been in the works for a long time. And
You're not just pushing it back in 2 years, you're pushing it back for the next borrowing, correct?
Well, yes, most likely.
Plus you're spending money on maintenance of it.
It's going to be 17 or 18 probably before you're going to get to it with the next round of borrowing and the next, capital project.
And that's my question. Will it last that long?
Well, it depends on the utility, like they're going to do it.
Like water main breaks and stuff like that.
I want to make sure that I'm looking at these alternate items for deduction. Again, I'm just throwing this out there. If we were to not do number 1, which is the pedestrian path, and not do number 2, paving the west parking lot, that doesn't mean the west parking lot wouldn't exist. It just means the paving, correct?
Correct.
It would still get the rock and the felt underneath it, and it would still be expanded as far as number 2 is concerned.
Okay, so we would have it. It just would be paved. Yes. Then, if we didn't do those two, am I reading this correctly that we would then just be at a 52,685 shortfall?
No.
No, it would be more.
Might
It'd
be
be
at
less than that. You'd be
93.
at 20-some thousand.
I'm sorry, what?
You'd be taking 19,390 off and then 19,396.50.
Oh, so 40,000 off it. Okay, excuse me. That's why I wanted to, okay.
Got a question for Tom. Gravel parking lots, are they easier to maintain than blacktop ones? Spending more time, materials repairing them than you do blacktop?
Would it be if they're properly stoned and felted even? Would that improve the maintenance of it?
You get a soft winter, get some snow, you're plowing that gravel off.
Then you gotta rake it all back.
Try to put it back. You're constantly doing that.
Do we plow it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Fire protection for the conservation club, plus they have parties throughout the winter.
And again, you're talking 20,000, you know, as far as, you know, what you're dealing with on the maintenance of it. So am I correct then, if we do this as discussed so far, we're down to 62,923.70?
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to deduct the pedestrian paths, that puts us down to the 42 area.
43,533.70.
What was that number again, Cindy?
43,533.70.
These walking paths, Tom, this is something you could do correctly with the equipment you have, or you could dig it out, get all the proper stone in and fiber or fabric.
We could.
And but you don't feel it, you could do it for probably much less than the 20 grand though.
No, it'd probably be pretty close.
it was just a wash if you did it, or you came in and had a project.
You could push the expense off would be the only reason you would do it then. That would be the...
Less of a path, you can connect some of the nature trails that are out there with paths, so you can potentially do more. And it's something that you could do a piece here, a piece there.
So this is almost something to where you could, as you're kind of saying, do it a little here and there as your guys have time over the next few years and just see how it goes, and you're not really affecting the rest of the work that's already been done there.
Correct.
Still have to find the money.
Right, but still, again, we're putting the money off, and if we do a little at a time, you know, it's a little bit of money at a time, you know. And as we find that money, then we can do it. If we don't find the money, then we don't do it.
I just kind of changed my mind on it. You know, I just remember people telling me about the retirees out there and all the people that exercise out there. They actually do use some walking paths that existing route out there. I just remember I had a whole bunch of calls and I forgot about that. Them established for generations out there, you know. And gotta just remember that. So I mean, it's actually kind of a vital link to it out there too. It's part of the overall improvements.
3/4 of the road is going to be either good.
Right.
You might have to walk your parking lot, which isn't ideal, but 3/4 of it is still going to be there.
I thought, okay. Well, it comes back to your saying, Chris, do you do the whole thing or just piecemeal it, you know?
I'd be in favor of cutting the paths, but the rest of it I really hate to cut. Because, I mean, it's just, I think I've been on council for 3 years now, and it's the biggest thing I've heard over and over and over and over. And it is a nice to have. I'll agree with that, but sometimes if that's what the community wants, that's what we should do, I think.
And this plant has been reduced.
curb, I believe.
More curb and gutter.
Randy, you know?
It's been shrunk down to try to get as close to the budget as what we thought we were going to be at.
Randy, all your grinder and utility stuff is done out there now, right? Okay.
I don't really see it making any sense to go beyond eliminating number one, just, I guess, all things considered, in my opinion.
Say that again, Mark?
I said, I don't feel that it'd make any sense to eliminate anything beyond the pedestrian pass.
Yeah.
Number two down, I think, is if we're going to do it, we should do it.
We should do it all at once.
So if we take the pass out, that puts us at $43,533.70.
Correct.
That is utilizing 50% of the surplus.
That is correct.
Correct, which 20,000 of that was already put in the surplus due to this.
No, I already have the 20,000 out of there, Mark, so.
So I'm just clarifying.
I don't think anybody's arguing that $20,000. It's going towards this, so. Besides that 20, it's an additional 31 of surplus.
Correct.
So can we look at the capital projects and equipment together and see if we all agree somewhere? And I really don't want to steal anything from Tom without, as far as equipment.
I'll make it simple. The 5 things that are part of the 905,000 borrowing we're going to do, the 2 pieces of equipment have already been purchased.
Okay.
Racetrack Park is what you're considering, so Highland and Park are the only 2 things that can slide.
Okay, fair enough. That makes it cut and dried, I guess.
And again, we don't know how tight those numbers are going to be. Maybe there's extra, but we won't know till probably a month from now we'll know. When we have the engineer's estimate.
Did you use the total money on the truck and the backhoe? Did you have anything left over from that?
Those are actuals.
Those are actuals, okay. And is that what we budgeted?
No.
But it still adds up to 905, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as the total's the same.
How bad would it affect us with fund balance? Taking the 40, whatever's needed out of the fund balance.
Your fund balance is healthy, but I guess the hesitation in the use of fund balance is even more so. You'll hear us beat that drum because in the past, when fund balance was created or surplus was created in any budget year, it stayed and created more savings, more fund balance. At this point, you have in effect frozen at that level because any surplus that's available is now being transferred and spent on capital.
Right.
So could you do it? You absolutely could. Do I think it is a good habit to get into? No. And we're not spending on operating, which you will really hear us beat the drum if you were to say we're going to, supplant operating costs with surplus funds. So certainly there are adequate surplus funds. And you could, if that's something you're even going to consider, then I would suggest that you wait and put it together when you get the at least the engineer's estimate, if not the bids for parkland
projects.
Right, and then we'll have an idea about what happens with all of those.
May not be as much, may be more.
But if you were to say no, we will never consider using surplus funds, and I think we should be realist to think that there's probably a very good chance that those 2 street projects are going to push back a few years, and then some others will get pushed back in their place. That's how that's going to work.
I guess what I'm saying would be a little easier discussion if it wasn't nice to have. If it was something that we absolutely had to have, it would be a much easier decision to make.
Based upon the numbers exercise we've just done, if we eliminate 1, 2, and 3, we're there.
Yeah, well, I know that, but I just, like I said, there's so much work gone into it, I hate to pull the cord on everything.
So if we were to even consider removing the east parking lot and wanting to keep the west completely done, this would all have to be rebid.
Yeah. When are we planning on starting this project, Tom? If we were to, once it...
July 20th.
We need to award tonight. You need to decide tonight, otherwise the project is going to be pushed pretty far into the fall.
So getting back, Lyle, to what you said, that if we were to eliminate 1, 2, and 3, but we kept the east parking lot, we're not over budget then, are we? We're under budget.
With 20K and 18.5, borrowing some from surplus.
So where would we have to,
No.
what fund would we have to take this 43 out of? Would that be the surplus fund or the borrowed money for the streets?
If you were to try to do 3, 4, 2, 3, and 4?
Yeah.
Well, you could take it out of the general surplus funds. There's still 50,000 there. You've heard Tom's suggestion that would not be his preference.
Yeah, no, I understand that 100%, Tom, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. I understand that.
Otherwise, staff is saying the next alternative is to delay capital projects as opposed to spending fund balance. But again, that is your call.
So if we were to spend the more out of the fund balance, which obviously we're not comfortable with, if something was to happen or Tom had an issue and needed something.
Well, this isn't about...
No, but anybody. But I'm just, as an example.
And it isn't, I don't think you should really think of it as an emergency thing, because it's specifically not written for that thing. This policy is for capital projects that are planned for, because the intention was not to have that money, oh, I got an extra 20, I'll spend it on this year and present it during that year. It's to be available during budget when all things are debated about. So it isn't supposed to be for an emergency. If Tom has something go wrong, that's why you have savings.
Right.
So
that's what I was getting to. I mean,
these are for small capital projects that we're having a difficult time fitting in our budget now because we have levy limits.
If we borrow from this, it ain't going to put any of these people in a pinch if something goes wrong because there's other sources available to them.
Correct.
Yes. All right.
Can I go forward making a motion?
Wait, can I say one quick thing before, please? I want to make sure, and Cindy, you're going to have to sharpen your pencil on this. If we were to not do numbers 1 and number 2, that would put us at 52,685 over budget, correct? Am I looking at this right?
Okay, so are you still considering the 51 surplus being used?
Nope, let's scratch all that right now. Let's just start from the beginning. If we did not do number 1, number 2, and we did number 3 and number 4.
And you need to find 93,000.
Oh, you need to find 93,000. Okay, never mind then, because I was thinking a little differently and I thought I had a plan, but I don't.
I move that we move forward with all the figuring we did in the last, I move that we take out the pedestrian paths for 19,390, leave the rest of the project as is, using the 20,000 that the parks have. Then the 18.5, we're going to use that. Where'd that come from again?
Impact fees.
Developer fees.
Developer fees. And then we had 31,000 coming from surplus. And that leaves us with 43,500, 33,70 that I would like to take out of the capital project fund.
And when you say capital projects fund, you mean delaying capital projects?
Delay of the capital projects. Thank you.
Which would be Highland and Park Street?
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, would that be delaying the project because the backhoe, plow truck, and oh, you're right, they're done, so the capital projects are...
Those are the only ones.
Park and Highland.
And
it'd be delaying them.
And again, I know it's not the best scenario, but with all the work that they've put into this project, I really hate to see it not, and with all the feedback I've had from the community, I hate to see it not go through.
Well, it ain't so much the work we put into it, it's just the fact that we're here. I mean, that's...
I don't want us to get hung up on the work because every committee puts a lot of time and work into to what they're doing. I'm sure time and work was put into Highland and Park Street in getting all that information together. So,
but like I said, this is something I generally wouldn't agree with this, but I just think it's a major project that we've been after in this community. I just would really like to see it taken care of. Because, I mean, there's so many people use that out there every weekend. And it would be nice.
Yeah. Is there any further discussion?
So we're doing, I just want to make sure I got the motion right. We're moving forward with the project by removing the pedestrian path, using $51,000 from the surplus, $18,500 to developer fees, and the remaining shortfall will come from the borrowing. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the only thing I would add for clarification for the record is that the surplus we're speaking of is that capital project surplus, not the general fund or not the, so just so we're clear.
You know, that 905?
Do all them numbers add up, Cindy? Does all them numbers add up then? I think we should run through it from the top and just make sure the numbers add up.
I guess when we're done, everyone should know that, again, the difference is going to be taken out of the borrowing, and we're not going to know the total for a couple of months.
Right,
So
understood. But I mean, just for tentative numbers right here, I agree.
Okay. Just so no one's surprised.
The way I reworded your motion was that the remainder will come from the borrowing, so it's the 43,533 at this point, but it would be that difference.
Right, correct. Okay.
So from the standpoint of any other discussion, I think, Mayor, you had asked if there were other discussion. I'm very nervous about utilizing 50% of our surplus as well as borrowing the 43.5. Very nervous about that. I just don't think that's smart business sense for the city.
I won't look at it that way at all, but
I would, especially when you got a sewer plant going in.
Yep.
But that's not
That's a different
That's a
funding
whole different
source
group of money.
Yep. And again, I just want to make sure it's very, very clear that people understand that I am very much for this project out at Racetrack. It's just a matter of, do we do this much or do we do this much? And I think what we're hearing from the community is about this much, and this is what they're upset about. And I think we're doing that. And we can do it and stay in budget. But that's just my personal
I wouldn't argue
opinion.
with any of that, Candy. I seriously wouldn't. And I think it's one of these times we're going to have to make decisions that maybe aren't necessarily best, but
Thing is that these decisions we're making tonight are going to affect the decisions we make next coming budget year and the next one.
I would
and
agree.
We're really going to have to make solid decisions then. I mean,
Well, and I think that's what's making me a little skittish on this, is because we're going to have to make other decisions based on what we're doing tonight that may not be in the best interest of our constituents as well as the city. So, I'm done. I'm done trying to rattle off my points of view.
I just hope that when it comes to Park Street and Highland Avenue that we can figure out a way at how to do that, properly and without any additional borrowings and affecting things, because them are well-needed projects and stuff. I know a lot of people live up that street. I know practically all of them up there. And
do we have a motion and a second on the floor?
Yeah, we do. This is the additional discussions.
So I just, I'll probably vote for this thing, but I just hope that, that when we come to projects down the road, that, we put our hats on and get them projects done.
well, I think we generally do a pretty decent job of that, and it's good discussion. It's good, healthy discussion.
And I'm just kind of saying that they did it back in the late 90s. They created this project up here.
Somebody calling Dave right now about the park.
Right,
Whatever.
Another look like
You.
pickle.
Or maybe they're saying, Candy, you're right. Maybe
Okay,
Charles
any more
said,
discussion
"Candy,
on the
you're right."
motion? Any more discussion on the motion? Does everyone understand the motion?
Yeah, I do.
We starting this after Tobacco Days, let everybody know that.
Roll call.
Chris Wellman,
Yes.
Mark Wellman,
Yes.
Dave,
No.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Davis,
No.
Thomas,
Yes.
Motion passes 4-2.
Mayor, you are one lucky mayor tonight, aren't you?
So this project starts in 13 days.
Right after Tobacco Days. We'll start hammering something.
And you're still up, Mark. You're still on
I'm
finance.
still up.
Oh, yeah, we still have more to talk about, don't we?
Motion to accept a bid for the squad car in the amount of $3,603.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mark Wellman,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yep.
Chris Wellman,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Motion passes.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Plan Commission.
Please, can't you give us more? Plan Commission met, and we'll jump to number 2 here, motion to introduce and approve the first reading of City of Edgerton Ordinance 15-06, amending Section 252.503 parentheses 2 parentheses E and Section 22.503 parentheses 1 parentheses N to amend daily notice sign regulations. That was a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Any discussion?
just one correction, there was a typo on the first section, it should be section 22, not 252.
Section 22, okay.
There's a brief
Thank
staff
you.
report noting the changes that were made post-Plan Commission discussion, so I just wanted to make sure if you, that you're aware of those. They're highlighted as well as listed on the staff report.
No further discussion? Roll call.
Davis,
Yes.
Chris Wellman,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yep.
Mark Wellman,
Yes.
Motion passes. That was about it from planning, wasn't it?
That's it for plan.
Utility.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 1505 and amending chapter 12.16, disconnection and refusal of service of the municipal water utility chapter.
And this is the second reading.
Yep. Second read, adoption.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yep.
Mark Wellman,
Yes.
Chris Wellman,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Motion passes.
That's it for utility.
RDA, I think we took care of that with the...
RDA, yep, we took care of
That's
the
so.
facade grants. Correct.
And the
That's
next,
it for RDA.
next item is to consider transfer of 2014 general fund surplus to the capital projects fund.
Motion to do so.
I'll second.
Almost half to, we spent part of it, didn't we?
That's why I jumped out.
What's the total dollar figure we're talking here?
$82,185.
Say again, please.
Oh, is that, wait, do I have the right number? Yeah.
Last page.
Secretary for the page 19, the adjusted surplus amount to be transferred be $78,000.
Thanks, Cindy. That's the audited financial statement surplus.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Thomas,
Yes.
Chris Wellman,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
McIntyre,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is to consider lifting hiring freeze to allow filling part-time administrative assistant position at Police Department.
Motion to lift hiring freeze to allow filling part-time administrative assistant position at Police Department.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I was going to say, if I could just jump in here, the chief has asked whether or not he would be allowed to look back to the applicants we had 3 months ago. If you recall, that we lifted the hiring freeze 3 months ago to fill the position. It's getting refilled. That person left, and am I stating this correctly, Chief?
I should be leaving at the end of the week.
And so our personnel policy doesn't explicitly state that we look back or can use a pool of applicants that have previously applied. That is pretty much normal procedure in many places. Section 6.2 of our personnel policy provides that we have to post for 5 days internally. Well, it doesn't say has to, it says should. Should post for 5 days internally and should post for 10 days externally if it's not filled internally. I'm of the opinion that, well, first of all, you are, as the representatives of the city, endowed with the authority to modify these rules. In fact, 1.1 of the personnel policy or the handbook specifically says that you may revise, supplement, and rescind any information contained in these policies as you see fit. I think that it would be not inappropriate to say to both this department and other departments that if you have a pool of applicants from a recent advertising, that you can tap them, understanding that you still have to give primary consideration to internals, or you should, because that's, I think, important, that if you have someone internally that's interested in it. But in the interest of speeding the business of government along, I don't think that's inappropriate if you were to roll that into this motion.
I will make that a part of the motion to allow to view recent applicants.
And I would put a cap on it, and I would make it part of the written policies, but I would put a cap of probably about 6 months.
Right. That's what I was going to say, because this person, what, 3 months you said?
But the reason I brought it up is the speed, so we can do it. No one was interested internally.
Right.
Months ago. I just wanted to use the pool of the ones that we interviewed, not the whole, everybody that applied, but the ones that we interviewed that we thought filled the position.
So did you?
We can fill it with one of them.
Okay.
We will, if we can't, refer back to
the external posting process.
But we cannot adjust that ordinance or policy now with this motion. It's simply just allowing him to go back with this.
My suggestion is that it be citywide, and just the personnel policies can be adjusted at any time. It should be noticed up, obviously, to have some discussion on it. But I think that you can retroactively modify them, and I would give the direction to the chief that he has that authority to do that. In fact, that might be the policy or the procedure that you filed in locally. I don't know if you have.
6-month policy?
Yeah.
It's certainly what we discuss with people when they submit something is we'll keep it on file for 6 months. That doesn't mean that they're in a pool. But let's, for clarification, are you suggesting then that there's the 5-day internal posting, and if no one signs, you're not suggesting that?
I wasn't, because no one posted internally.
So the motion is no internal posting and allowing the current pool of applicants to be considered without re-advertising.
That's what I was suggesting.
However, I thought...
That's the motion I made, but you're suggesting we change this policy possibly to 6 months, but we can't do that with this motion.
Right. And that should be a conversation of personnel anyways.
Right. But I think that it is something that you should do.
I agree with you.
I want to make sure I'm clear, though, that I thought I heard you say to be able to offer it to internal if somebody's interested.
I think that that's one of the rules that you have, is that if there wasn't, now Chief has just said that no one internally ever posted.
They weren't 3 months ago. We can assume they aren't again 3 months now, but...
There's really nobody there to take that position, is there, other than your full-time?
No, any staff here.
Okay, this ain't just within the police department.
It was posted 5 days.
As per.
Okay.
as per the policy. That's what the requirement is.
We interviewed 6 applications at this. So I think we've given up 5 we can't.
Right.
Personal manual, so.
All right. What I would do though, Chief, is I would post internally at the
Yes.
same time.
I would too.
Get that clock running. Because you're probably not
You
going to
could do it
interview tomorrow
consecutive.
or the next day.
Right.
No, the thing is, the pool that's left has already been interviewed, so we could get rolling again.
But I meant you may not be able to contact them, I guess. They may say,
Right, they may not be interested, so posting it 5 days.
Or you may have learned something from this last person that was here for 3 months that you might want to have a discussion. I would encourage you to maybe talk to them again.
Right.
From, not just pick it up and offer them. You may want to have another discussion with them. So you could do that at the same time that you are posting internally for 5 days. I think that's the right thing to do. I get the not the externally, but
Could I hear my motion again? Was that my motion?
that was your motion.
The motion was to let the hiring freeze for the part-time administrative position at the police department, not post internally, and to allow the recent pool of applicant candidates to be considered to fill the position.
Then I would like to make a friendly amendment to that to ask that he post internally, but it is not necessarily to post externally.
And I will second that friendly motion.
So basically, you're
From a
going
second.
to
Consecutively post internally with,
I think that's the intention, right? To not delay the process.
Not delay
but
the
In
process.
case there's someone interested, you'll know.
yep.
Okay. Any further discussion? Get her going. Roll call.
Markwater,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Deputy,
Yes.
Motion passes. Mayor, all the persons and staff reports. Is that light on the flagpole working?
Nope,
It's not on right now.
must be wounded one.
I've got one item, Mr. Mayor. Senior Center is 2 years old the month of July.
Ooh.
We're making progress. Last year we had homemade cupcakes. This year I could afford to buy a cake. Everybody's invited for coffee and cake
When?
starting tomorrow.
Excellent.
How long you gonna have the cake there?
You're invited too.
Paul, the directional bulletin.
Coffee cake. No donuts, Tom.
No donut, just two.
All right, we got stuff. We got
Okay.
business.
If you have a chance to stop at the library, by the way, the wood carvers and the basket weavers and the straw weavers and the rose maulers have a big display in the library in the glass cage.
Cool.
Very nice.
Surprising. You would be amazed.
That is the taco days will be happening before our next council meeting. It's probably about the 42nd, Chris, is it?
At least,
Okay.
starting the 17th. And I'd like to thank the Lions Club for the fireworks display again this
Yes.
year.
Very good.
That's all I had.
All right, I'll make a motion on to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Discuss and consider Southern Wisconsin News TIF financing request.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Markwater,
Yes.
David,